The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. It is New Year's Day, Dale, 2026.
Yes, it is.
Yes, Thursday, January 1st, you guys. It's a big deal. 2026. Huge news right there, Dale. That's news all in itself that we made it to 2026. We had President Trump, and everyone was saying that he was going to, blow up the world and da-da-da-da. And look at that. We're still here. Believe it?
Yeah.
Oh man, Dale, you know what today is? Today?
Thursday.
Well, yes, it is. It is Thursday as well, Dale. That is true. Excuse me. Today is National Bloody Mary Day.
Ooh.
Yeah, right. I may have to have one of those just because.
I'm not a tomato juice kind of guy. So
I always feel like it's like the healthiest alcoholic beverage you can have. You know what I mean? You get a stick of celery, you get the tomato juice, you know what I mean? You get that pepper, like if you're ever like congested or whatnot, a Bloody Mary is like the perfect alcoholic beverage to just make it with some V8, you know what I'm saying? And, you get...
Okay, you haven't convinced me. Sorry, give me a shot of scotch. Sorry.
Yeah, I see what you did there, Dale. I see what you did there. That's fair. Today, let's see what else is today. Today is also. There we go. All right, today is also. It's also National Hangover Day, Dale.
Well, that's obvious.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, it is New Year's Day, everybody. Happy 2026 out there. We made it and we did it. And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website, www.high9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And Dale, I know you're a lawyer and you love laws. And it just so happens that there's new cannabis and hemp laws that take effect today across multiple states. Several marijuana and hemp-related laws officially took effect January 1, 2026. That would be today, right now. While some of the changes are minor, the measures reflect an ongoing shift towards tighter oversight of both state cannabis programs and the rapidly evolving hemp-derived product market. In Alabama, a comprehensive regulatory system for consumable hemp products is now in force, and the law establishes statewide licensing, testing, and labeling requirements for hemp-derived products intended for human consumption. It sets THC limits per serving and per package and mandates child-resistant packaging. Sales are now restricted to licensed in-person retail locations only with in-person retail locations only with online sales, and delivery services and vending machines are prohibited. The law also imposes a new 10% excise tax at the retail level and fundamentally reshaping how hemp-derived products are sold in the state. Also today, Tennessee implemented sweeping changes to its hemp-derived cannabinoid market. Oversight has shifted to the Alcoholic Beverage Commission, and retailers must be licensed to restrict sales to consumers 21 and older. The law redefines total THC to include THCA and other cannabinoids, effectively banning most high THCA products that exceed the statutory THC limit. Online and mail order sales are prohibited, and new licensing categories and compliance requirements are in place, and a restructured tax system on hemp-derived cannabinoid products also took effect. How in the hell do these people expect to stop these direct-to-consumer things? Okay, they can't even stop 100 pounds in boxes getting shipped, and these guys are expected to stop small packages, personal consumption.
They're deluded.
They're freaking crazy. Oh, man, you know. California implemented targeted changes aimed at tightening controls on hemp-derived products, particularly those entering the food and supplement market. As of today, hemp extracts may no longer be added to foods, beverages, or dietary supplements unless they are ultra-refined and contain no detectable THC and do not include synthetic cannabinoids, effectively limiting legal products to pure cannabinoid isolates. The changes strengthen enforcement authority against non-compliant products and further narrow the distinction between regulated marijuana products and hemp-derived items sold outside the licensed marijuana system through broader structural changes related to hemp integration. Will phase in later. Interesting. Washington State also saw multiple cannabis-related updates take effect at the start of the year. Changes to cannabis licensing provisions are now active, affecting regulatory requirements for licensed producers, processors, and retailers, including new limits on ownership concentration under SB 5403, and the law caps the number of marijuana retail licenses any individual or group of related investors can control at 5, and prohibits management, branding, and other arrangements that effectively link separate retailers through shared ownership, profits, intellectual property, or coordinated marketing. They make it sound really bad. The Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board is tasked with enforcing the cap and may order forfeiture of licenses found to be in violation. In addition, updated advertising and signage rules for marijuana businesses are now enforceable following the implementation of SB 5206. That law expands the number of allowable exterior signs on a retailer's building from 2 to 4, while excluding signs smaller than 512 square inches from that limit, and clarifies rules governing window signage, trade names, and the size and content of advertisements. Kentucky's new framework for cannabis-infused beverages also took effect today. THC drinks are now regulated similarly to alcohol, with products limited to 5 milligrams of THC per container and sales restricted to licensed alcohol retailers. The changes replace a previously unclear regulatory environment, with sales now prohibited at festivals, public events, and other unlicensed venues. But you guys allow alcohol there, and you're having this stuff sold where alcohol... This is so stupid. God, these people, man. In Michigan, a new 24% excise tax on wholesale marijuana transfers is now in effect, giving the state the second highest cannabis excise tax in the state behind in the nation, behind Washington State's 37%. Well, you know, Dale, there's one thing that I know that went into effect today that this story didn't mention, and that is the consumption lounges being able to begin their process in Massachusetts. And that's about it for these new laws that are going into effect as of today, right now, right this very second. The world has changed before our eyes, Dale.
No, they haven't learned a damn thing.
No, they haven't.
I mentioned this multiple times. Mm-hmm. Within the law, we have two different types of law: malum in se and malum prohibitum. Malum in se is murder, mayhem, rape, robbery, all that stuff.
Violent crimes.
Yeah. Well, crimes that involve what we call moral turpitude. You lie, You cheat, you steal, you use violence, things like that.
Okay.
We get almost universal agreement. We don't want that happening. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, when you slip to what we call malum prohibitum, things that we say are bad because, some group of fucking idiots got together and decided we don't want you doing this. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, if you have too many people violating those laws, you can't enforce them. Yep. That's where we've been playing here for years. You can't enforce these laws. Yet they keep coming up with more stupid restrictions that they couldn't enforce before, and now how in the world are they going to enforce it? Black market's just waiting.
You know,
go ahead.
Oh, bro, it's so ridiculous. Again, I'm going to double down on the fact of they're saying that they can't do online sales or direct to consumer, no vending machines, stuff like this, and all they want to do is restrict commerce, but they're not giving anyone any substitute in between. And you're not going to stop people from going after and seeking what they want. All you're doing is forcing them to find it in a new direction, and that's outside of the legal framework, because people aren't going to stop doing what they're doing.
Well, and what they should have learned from the hemp industry is that people want this. They don't want all this nonsense that they have to go through to get it. They don't want to pay high taxes on it. They want it conveniently. They don't give two shits about whether there's yellow or red on the trade dress of some package. They don't care about that. That's stupid. But these lawmakers keep thinking, well, we've got to make this as hard as we can so we can control this. You can't control it.
You can't control it. Exactly.
Oh, it's nonsense. You just wonder, did your mama drop you on your head a lot when you were a kid and you can't learn? What the hell's the problem here?
Right. Hawaii Sustainable in the chat, he's saying that I guess there was some new laws that went into effect in Hawaii. He said that they forgot about. So let us know what those laws are, Hawaii Sustainable, and I'll make sure to read that to make sure that people know what's happening, what laws have changed in Hawaii as well. And so these journalists aren't always perfect, and but they do a good job. At least the stories that I cover. I can't speak for everybody's stories, but the ones that I cover.
They're still trying to clean up the mess they made when they tried to define hemp versus marijuana or cannabis. They brought idiots in who had no idea what they're talking about, made a definition. It's like, okay, well, Forrest Gump can get around this one. Okay, now what?
I had someone telling me last night how CBD enhances THC as a high and makes it more potent.
What?
Exactly. That's what I said. I said, where are you getting this from? And they pulled up some study from the NIH, and I was like, that's 100% fake news. That's totally ridiculous. that's not even in the realm of reality. And they were pretty adamant, But it was an interesting discussion,
That's an emotional belief.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you try to give them facts, their butt puckers up and they start to stammer, and then they get mad.
And then they were trying to tell me how they tried it, how they tried this product with this product, and and how they felt it, and they're trying to tell me you should try it. It's really good. It works so well. I'm like, you're crazy. I'm not trying any of that craziness.
Yeah.
Not.
Good luck to them.
Yeah.
I don't think it convinces too many people.
Your delusional grandeur can remain your delusional grandeur. Well, on that, Dale, I guess since we got these new laws, we are going to roll into our first commercial and be good law-abiding citizens for 2026.
Yeah, that's me.
We are back, and Dale, a lot of these people, they have their family stories and they pull on a lot of heartstrings and stuff like that and whatnot, but Hawaii Sustainable, he says we can still export. The shops can't sell hemp, and they get big penalties for hemp on the hemp side, and patients can now only grow 5 cards per property, and new big fines are now possible in 329. I don't understand a lot of what you're saying, Hawaii Sustainable, but I think what you're saying is that the shops can't sell hemp products without getting big penalties, and you can now grow 5 plants at home or per property, not per person. That's what I think that you're saying, but interesting. Or you can combine with 5 patients per one property. That actually might make a little bit more sense, but nonetheless, we're going to roll into this heart-tugging story of why these people are saying they deserve interstate commerce, Dale. Believe that? These people are so crazy, but time is short for Schaumburg's family request to retain access to daughter's medical marijuana. That's right. A Schaumburg family's request to change interstate commerce laws to retain access to their 19-year-old daughter's medical marijuana patches is running out of time. Maureen and Jim Surin said their supply of patches that recently stopped being made in Illinois will be depleted in 2 weeks. Though the patches needed by their daughter Ashley to prevent her epileptic seizures are available as close as Missouri, the Surins argue no one should have to break federal law by crossing state lines. While individual states like Illinois and Missouri have made certain uses of marijuana legal, traveling across state lines with it technically remains illegal, legal experts say. Well, that's because it is. The Surins previously inspired Ashley's law in 2018, allowing children in Illinois to receive prescribed medical cannabis in school. Diagnosed with leukemia at 2 years old, Ashley's life was further complicated by epilepsy, autism, and a concussion suffered during a fall from a seizure, even after she beat the cancer. For the past 8 years, her life has been transformed by her access to the patches licensed by Mary's Medicinals of Colorado and manufactured locally by Green Thumb Industries of Chicago. But that solution, which allowed Ashley to have a job and pursue a variety of interests, is in jeopardy since Mary's Medicinals withdrew from the Illinois market. But Maureen insists it's the law and not Mary's Medicinal's business decision that is the obstacle to overcome. That's also the opinion of her physician brother, as well as a Chicago-based attorney who's one of the nation's leading specialists in cannabis law. In a quote, "My brother said this is a huge health crisis," Maureen said. "Our healthcare system is failing us. It tells us, tough luck. Go figure it out for yourself. I think Congress is obligated to answer this crisis now. I believe there are hundreds of Ashleys out there, and we're fighting for a medicine that exists." The family is reluctant to experiment with anything similar because of how long it took to find the right product in the first place. Furthermore, challenges to Ashley's communication skills make it hard for her to convey how anything different would make her feel. A source of hope is the executive order of President Donald J. Trump signed in December, paving the way for marijuana to be reclassified as a less dangerous drug. In a quote, they say, "It's truly historic," said Chicago attorney Eric Berlin, who leads the U.S. and global cannabis teams at the law firm of Dentons and has specialized in that aspect of law for 17 years. "We had the FDA say it, and now the president has acknowledged that cannabis has legitimate medical uses in the United States. That acknowledgement is critical." However, Berlin doesn't believe any changes will happen in the next 2 weeks. Anyone bringing a marijuana product across state lines risks imprisonment, though enforcement of such laws hasn't been stringent, Berlin acknowledged. But he notes the crackdown on undocumented immigration this year demonstrates how quickly things can change. Oh man, that's a terrible example. It's the courage of people like the Surins who are most likely to make change happen, Berlin said. But there's still plenty of opposition to loosening cannabis laws, which slows any potential changes, he added. A Change.org campaign started by Maureen and aimed at changing interstate laws for medical marijuana in late December has already collected more than 1,250 signatures. Wow. The White House is among the government agencies Maureen has reached out to independently and said she did receive a letter back from President Trump on December 10th. He says, "Please know your courage reflects the power of the human spirit, and your tenacity is an inspiration to so many," the letter signed by Trump reads. "We hope you find comfort in the love of family and friends, and that you will continue to be uplifted by the abiding strength and support of all those around you." Maureen also contacted officials at the Illinois Department of Public Health and the office of the U.S. Congressman Raja Kimoshii of Schaumburg. Representatives of those offices have not responded to the Daily Herald's request for comment as of yet. But can you believe that, Dale? They're saying, hey, you know what? We need these patches. And so we need interstate commerce. Instead, you know what they need to do? They need to just drive their little happy ass on down to Missouri and not even really worry about it, because this is not what they are looking for in people's cars. Patches. They're looking for pounds of weed, you guys. This is totally ridiculous. This stuff just kills me sometimes. Sometimes these people just need to go and just do what they need to do for their family. You know what I mean? And stop worrying about the law and this and that and da 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 da. That is not the American spirit at all. Fight, fight, fight. What do you got to say,
Well, when
Dale?
your kid's got a seizure disorder,
Yeah.
okay, how far are you willing to go to make your kid healthier?
Mm-hmm.
I had patients that had those kinds of problems, and multiple others needed a steady supply. And, it just seemed to me the right thing to do was throw a few plants in my backyard, do all the paperwork, and get you some weed.
Yeah.
Okay? Cost me 5 years in prison. It was the right thing to do. Now, I'm not encouraging them to do anything that's illegal. That would not be okay for an attorney for you to do that. But as you said, you got a few patches or a box of patches or whatever.
Yeah.
They're not looking for that. They're looking for someone with a pickup truck, in a lockbox that's full of concentrate or something.
Yep.
It also points out how stupid all this stuff is, because I can't tell you how many times Molly and I have had patients that were, they tore your heart out to watch them, or what happened to them. And we had one kid that had a psychiatric condition, and somebody gave him brownies, and the kid was like, oh, a new person. Okay. Went to school. The teacher noticed you're not defiant and stuff like that. And they got wind that someone had gave him a brownie. Well, the kid was kicked out of school. Mom was arrested, all this stuff. And we finally got in front of the judge, and the judge was a mother. Said, this is ridiculous. No, stop this.
Yeah.
Okay? Because the system does have people that realize that coming in with your jackboots on, kicking somebody's ass, is not a way to deal with someone who's sick and you're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
It defies logic. But it's kind of what law enforcement does. They're told this is illegal. Go out there and stop it, and so they do. And it just doesn't work.
I feel like if they just went and did what they were supposed to do as parents, and just went and broke the law, you know what I mean, and went and picked these up, and they got pulled over on their way back without a state product, do you realize what a huge story that would be, that would actually shed the light that they want shed on this story of them actually getting caught and prosecuted for it? Would shine way more light onto the situation than them just saying, hey, we need this to get done, guys, da 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 da. You know what I mean? Well,
like I said, I'm not advocating that people break the law, because that's unethical for an attorney to do. I can just point out the reality.
I'm not an attorney, Dale.
It is, but it is illegal to possess marijuana under federal law. Okay, so you're already breaking the law.
Yeah.
You're going, oh well, there's another level of law here that shouldn't be there, because I shouldn't have to break it. Just stop. You're already breaking the law, and the laws are stupid, and that's the problem they have with all these laws.
Exactly.
They're malum prohibitum, and someone with a sick kid, it's like, yeah, fuck you. I'll go over to Missouri and come back with enough to take care of my kid for a month or whatever it takes, and probably get a hold of somebody in the underground and say, hey, can you guys get these for me? What's it going to cost? Deliver them to my house.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Exactly. I just feel like if it's going to be such bad press for any officer that would prosecute on that, first of all. Okay. Oh my God. I could totally see the headlines right now, Dale. Like it's just that would bring so much national attention to that, and would probably push the needle a lot farther with them getting caught driving patches across a state line. Like this is so ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like you can hide those things you can hide those things underneath your floor mat. You know what I mean?
But unless I'm misunderstanding something, Epidiolex, which is a CBD product,
FDA approved.
Okay. And so a physician could break out their prescription. Now, I don't know where you can get them. That may be another complicating factor. But it points out how ridiculous all of this stuff is.
It is.
Okay? The shoehorn to get all this going was medical.
Mm-hmm.
And the medical problems continue. And we've known since the 1840s, this is an anti-seizure medicine.
Exactly.
Okay? This is not rocket science. The politics have gotten involved in this. And physicians, in my experience, don't want to get out of the box the government has, put them in, and think creatively. And I was trained in medicine where you got a problem, how can we fix it? Okay, now, like we could fix it if we do this, but that's not okay because I'll get in trouble, so I won't do that for you.
Yeah.
That's why I just say, doctors, grow a set, man, get a backbone.
Right.
Stand up and say something. But the ones that do, as you've seen, the government goes after you hard.
Yeah.
So I understand doctors are pusillanimous about this because you spend 20, 25 years in school, get to this point, you don't want to lose all of that. But yet, how can you sit there and watch a kid be in status epilepticus and knowing I can break these seizures with this? But, I don't want to do that because it'll get me in trouble.
And I'm going to say, I'm going to put some onerous even on a company like Mary's Medicinals. If you guys have someone that benefits from your product like that and you guys aren't willing to, take some risks to make sure that they have what they need, I think that's a really, it's definitely not the spirit of what medical cannabis was and is. And, like we took tons of risk, you know what I mean? And like, and I'll put it to you like this, back in the medical days, if I had any parent that was coming in claiming that they needed some life, changing medicine for their kid, I didn't give a hell if they were from California or where the hell they were from. They walked in my door, I'm going to take care of them. You know what I mean? And I just feel like, a lot of these people in the space need to grow a pair of nuts.
Yeah. Well, but see, my experience, most of us that have been doing this for a while are probably more disagreeable than the average person because we take risks. We like this and go, you're full of shit. I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
No, you can't tell me what to do. Now, when you go into business in a traditional sense, you got to be careful because if you're too much that way, you step over a line, they come in and chop your toe off, take your license away. So there's tension here. But if you're going to be a leader, and all you're going to do is left brain think, and I'm following the map, and I don't want to get off the path here. Open up your right brain, start thinking about how do we go cross country and fix these problems. Yep. And I would just encourage people, if you're a parent with a kid like this, you got to open your mind here a little bit. And my experience with cops is that if you are coming back and they pinch you and you got a box of these patches.
You got a box of patches. Stop it.
And the kid's doing this. Okay. It's like, okay, have a nice day. We don't want to pinch you.
That's my point. Exactly. Yeah. That's my point. These people are, they just need to drive over to Missouri and buy a bunch of these patches. You know what I mean? And drive back home and call it a day. You know what I mean? That's it. Well, on that, we're going to roll right into attorney at law, Mr. Dale Schafer. Dale has been an attorney. And first of all, too, I do want to also state that, we do feel for the family and for the child. And, all that stuff is tragic. And we do want the best for everybody. But at the same time, they just need to man up and, you know what I'm saying, go and do it instead of trying to be like, oh, we need interstate commerce just for this thing. Like, no, it's not going to happen. You're not going to get an interstate compact. Just stop with the ridiculousness and just, you know what I'm saying, do what you need to do for your family. Anyways, Dale has been an attorney since the Reagan administration. He has represented physicians, hospitals, insurance companies, cops, corrections officers, and for the last 25 years, he has specialized in cannabis law. He served a 5-year federal prison sentence for helping medical marijuana patients and managed to save his law license. He's blunt. He doesn't smoke them because they're ratchet, they're nasty, and they turn your teeth yellow and other things yellow. But he is honest, and he's unconcerned with public opinion, your opinion, and anyone else that wants to identify as anything as their opinion. And he will show you how he can be a superhero and throw a cape on and defy gravity by pissing up a rope. That's right, he is your favorite Tio Loco, and you can now find him at his own law office at none other than the law office of none other than Dale Schafer.
Good morning. Happy New Year to everybody. It's Tio Loco and Jason's favorite full of shit.
Yeah.
My story this morning is about THC and impairment and people being arrested for that. Comes out of Marijuana Moment, and it's by Aaron Houston from yesterday. Marijuana users are being unjustly jailed for allegedly driving under the influence. Government-funded study shows. Okay, well, this falls in the category of no shit, Sherlock. And the study we're talking about came out of UC San Diego. They don't describe whether it was funded by California or some other funds. I'm going to assume it was funded by California. And what we have here is the problem I think I've talked about multiple times before. Policymakers and law enforcement really wants weed to fit into how alcohol affects you. They just like that more than anything. Problem is, it doesn't. Alcohol is a single molecule. They have studied how it, the liver affects it, and how using it affects you in real time. These have been done so many times. They come up with limits that we call per se limits. 0.08 blood alcohol concentration makes more people than not so impaired they shouldn't be driving a vehicle. And members of the public, policymakers, and law enforcement really want that to be the case with weed, but it simply is not. Because weed is not just THC. That's what they test, but it's not just that. And the other problem is that it's individual effects. It's difficult to take 100 people and have them all smoke the same amount of weed or however they're going to put it into them and test them, and to have results that you can make any sense out of at all. They've done these studies for years. They put them in simulators. They give you a certain amount. You test for what your blood alcohol is, and they give you an automatic driving test with one of these simulators and see how you do. You know, study your eyes. Can you stay in the lane? Blah, 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 blah. They haven't been able to make head nor tails of it. And cops continue to want to find the easy way to figure out you're impaired when you're under the, when you're using cannabis. It just doesn't work that way. It also depends on how you use it, how experienced you are, things like that. And for those of us in the industry, we all know someone who uses fairly high amounts of THC on a regular basis. I've been in cars with them. I've had them drive me. They're perfectly lucid. I'm not afraid to be in the vehicle with them, things like that, okay? But I've also seen some people that first time taking a gummy, they can't even find the toilet to take a pee, okay? And it's like, we don't want you driving a car like that, okay? So you have to recognize that for some people, there is too much weed to have in your system for you to be operating a vehicle. But unlike alcohol, weed does not seem to take away your discretion and your ability to control your emotions. And I mean, like inhibitions, like I'm driving a car and I now want to go really fast and get into fifth gear and go 150 miles an hour, and I'm drunker than Hogan's goat. That happens too often. When you drive weed, you tend to creep up to a stop sign. Okay? Now, I'm not saying this is accurate for everybody or absolutes. I don't want to be too reductionist here, but if someone is going to have a criminal penalty attached to some behavior, we have rules to do that. Basically, notice an opportunity to be heard, to come in and defend yourself. But then, how are they prosecuting you? And you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you were under the influence at the time that you had the encounter with cops. That's where they have a problem here. You're drunk. They can do a breathalyzer alongside the road. You got a, 0.14, something like that. Boom, you're going to jail. We don't have to do much more than that. Okay. When you've got someone you claim is under the influence of weed, it typically means I smelled weed. Okay. Now that doesn't mean anything other than now you've gotten my attention. And if you don't want to do a field sobriety test, then I think you're pissing up a rope here trying to convict somebody in front of a jury. Because I can drag out studies like this, the experts that do it, to say that there is little to no absolute correlation between how much THC is in your system and your ability to operate a motor vehicle. None, and to stop it. Okay. And beyond a reasonable doubt, all you have to do is convince one juror that now you haven't proven that they were impaired simply by doing a blood test. Nope. And so those prosecutions started to dwindle as soon as these per se limits were attacked. You just can't support them. I can bring in experts all day long to say, in nice legalese, it's bullshit. But if you're drinking alcohol, I can bring in toxicologists all day long to say, here's the studies we've done. They show this is enough to show that you should not be operating a motor vehicle. To be criminal sanctions. And these do not correlate. And another thing that, if you have any idea about what terpenes do, myrcene is what they call couch lock. Okay. They don't test for that. You could have THC in your system and have THCV and just be, jacked up like you're on crank. Or you could have couch lock, okay, and you shouldn't be doing anything more than having a chocolate chip cookie and laying on the couch. How do you figure that stuff out? What cops don't want to have to do is go the whole 9 yards, get you out of the car, do a field sobriety test on you, document the field sobriety test, determine from that you're under the influence, and then go and do some testing, some toxicology, and see what your level of THC is in your system. That will probably get you prosecuted, and a jury would probably believe that if you've got it on videotape and these people are stumbling around and they're screaming about the Grateful Dead having lost their leader and shit. You're fucked up. You shouldn't be driving the car. Okay, but if you're not ready to do that, then these per se limits, you should not be putting people in jail. Now, I want to be clear. I do not want people getting so fucked up they can't find the toilet, getting behind the wheel of a car. Please don't do that. Don't support people doing that. That's not what we're talking about here. Okay? And my rule of thumb is that if you're smoking, give yourself an hour, if you're a novice, before you even think about driving a car. That's enough time for THC levels to lower. If you're a consistent user, I don't know what rules to apply. Okay? Because you could have well over 5 nanograms of THC when they test you, and there's no visible signs of impairment. I don't know what to do with that. I would caution that unless you know exactly how this is affecting you, don't drive a car. Okay? Don't get your ego so wrapped up in this that I'm going to go out and do something stupid. That's what alcohol does to you. Lowers your inhibitions. Your ego comes out. I can drive. And I taught my kids, tackle that son of a bitch, take his keys away. If necessary, disable his car and poke his tires, and I'll deal with dad the next day. Don't let him drive if they're your friend. That's the problem with alcohol. You don't have that problem with cannabis. And trying to make this fit an alcohol model is just stupid. Stop it.
Yep.
All right, there you go. I'm going to start ranting here for a second. Jump in here anytime you want, Jason.
Oh, you're right. You're so right about this, Dale. Like this is, what I'm saying? This is just crazy that they, what I'm saying, want to equate all of this, what I'm saying, in this way. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
Well, this article there's still multiple jurisdictions out there that have zero tolerance. You can't have any THC in your system. Come on, man.
It's these people just want to have an easy way to do their job so they can get their case and get their, what I'm saying, whatnot. It's not really about public safety or whatnot. It's really about justifying their existence for what they're doing and feeding the machine with fines and deterrents and getting people off the road. I mean, what they really need to focus on is getting all the illegals off the road is what they really need to focus on instead of all of the, what I'm saying, all of these drugged drivers that are raising havoc on our roadways. Okay? Because let me tell you something, Dale. I used to smoke and drive all the time. Never had a problem. Never an instance ever smoking and driving. Only maybe instance I ever had maybe as a cherry fell out in my seat, and all of a sudden I had one of those hot coffees like the lady that sued McDonald's all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying? But that's about it, you know, maybe a little burn in my seat. But other than that, that was it. Just a little hot tamale, and you just brush it off. You know what I'm saying? Just go and brush your shoulders off. But I will say that I have witnessed people that don't have any type of tolerance. Just that like totally, you know what I mean? And you know what? And more on edibles and those types of things as opposed to actual flower, from my personal experience as to what I've witnessed. And so, you know, all these people want to, you know, these cannabis beverages are the new greatest, and oh man, I'm just eating a gummy and da 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 da. But the reality is, probably smoking a pre-roll probably going to do a lot better for you than any of that. But, you know.
Well, it has to do with titration. Mm-hmm. When you smoke, you immediately get the effects of THC that cross the blood-brain barrier.
Yep.
And you get high right away. Mm-hmm. And then within an hour, studies show that tends to drop off. It's like if you drink one drink an hour, okay, you should be okay to drive. You know, within an hour, the average person should be down from that and not as big a concern to drive. Now, I'm not encouraging people who are...
I'm not either. Just want to make sure that's being clear. Yes.
Yeah. I don't encourage that at all. Yep. But when you titrate that way, you tend to know where your level is, okay? And I believe that what should be a better model here is like what they put on the side of your prescription bottle. Don't drive a car or operate dangerous machinery until you're sure of the effects of this on you.
You know what I think would be better, Dale? And they'd be able to generate revenue for this, is if at every DMV across America they created a how high are you driving test, okay, where basically, you know, you go and you smoke a joint or whatever, take a dab, whatever you're doing, and you go and you get in the car with the thing, or maybe they do this in a simulator. Maybe the simulator would actually make more sense, possibly, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe even like a closed track, okay? So that way you're not endangering the people, you know what I mean, and all of this. But it'd be a totally voluntary thing. And then that way, after you passed and you showed that you're totally fine to drive while you're under the influence of cannabis, then they'd put like a little weed leaf on your driver's license to signify, you know, like they do like the little donor stickers, Dale. You know what I'm saying? You know, they just put a little weed leaf like, hey, this person's passed, this person's okay, we don't have to worry about him. You know what I mean? And granted, you know, The thing that has affected me more in driving, as far as safety wise, is more of being tired and lack of sleep, other than because I was so high.
Well, and driving around paying attention to a cell phone is a hell of a lot more dangerous. How many knuckleheads are out there doing that?
Well, most people aren't multitaskers, Dale.
Oh, the brain's not set up for that.
Mine is. Mine is. I have no problem with it.
Driving a car should be your principal purpose when you're behind the wheel. Right? And you should be very careful about distracting from that. But, I mean, I've heard cops talk about all this stuff, and then you watch a video of them driving their car.
Yeah, they're doing the same thing.
They're talking on their radio, they're punching their computer, and you know, it's like, come on, man.
Yep, come on. Yeah, you're calling the kettle black, right?
It is.
It's ridiculous.
I'm a dad and a grandfather, okay? I don't want anybody out there that is dangerous to drive, because my kids and grandchildren are out there, okay? And it happens all the time. People are injured or killed because someone is high on something. Okay? I just don't see weed being a problem that, you know, people keep trying to make it be when you're operating on the highways. There are instances where people are high out there, they cause accidents, but for the most part, the accident levels didn't go up when they legalized weed. What does that mean? People have been driving under the influence of weed for a long time, and they haven't been a danger on the highway. All of a sudden you make it legal. Oh, we're going to pay attention to this. Well, you know, the accident rate didn't change. That's evidence to me this is not as big a problem as they're making it out to be. Alcohol is the problem of driving under the influence, period, Full stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And you can't make that go away. Alcohol is legal. It's one of the consequences of making it legal that we have to deal with. It's not going to go away, and no one's considering making alcohol illegal again.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're so right about that, Dale. You're so about, the one time I will say that cannabis is a big problem with driving is when you're crossfaded.
Okay, explain that term to me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Crossfaded when you're on alcohol and weed at the same time. That's the only time that I've seen that cannabis is a big problem while driving. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That alcohol is a bad thing to drive on, and unless you know exactly how cannabis is affecting you, I wouldn't recommend it either. You know what I mean? Always use caution. We always want to be safe and make sure that we're getting every going, and make sure that we also are protecting members in our community and our family and friends and loved ones and all of that. You know what I mean? We don't want to be endangering people's lives either, but at the same time we have to be realistic about what the situation is and treating it like it's the big bad boogeyman that all of a sudden these roads are unsafe. Like the reality of it, if these roads were that unsafe, they would have been talking about this in the 60s and 70s during the hippies' heyday. All right, but that was never a topic.
Claim that the sky is falling so many times before people stop listening to you.
Yep.
And I do not encourage people to operate a motor vehicle unless they are ready to do that. Okay. And that means it's an individual decision. That's why if you make the wrong decision, you should be held responsible. Okay. But honest discussions with your kids as they're growing up and with other friends and family members about the effects of these different substances on you when you're operating a vehicle should be part of teaching your kids how to drive. It was for me. I mean, I'm serious. I told my kids, man, if you have a friend that's going to drive drunk, do not let him do it.
Do not. Exactly.
They're going to kill themselves.
Yeah, don't let them do it. I'm with you all the way.
And I told them, hey, I'll deal with their dad the next day if you have to go puncture their fucking tires. Okay? Because they're going to kill themselves or somebody else.
The best way actually.
Driving out there when you're under the influence of other substances either, if you're just way too high. You just should not do it.
The thing about it, Dale, is, if you're going to let the, puncture someone's tires, just as legal advice, it's better and safer to just let the air out of their tires, because that way you're not damaging any personal property, Dale, just so you know. Yeah.
Well, but if you're wrestling some drunk to the ground and he's pounding to turn to get in the car. Yeah. Hey, that's poke a hole in that tire. That's what I told him. Poke a hole in that tire. I'll deal with their dad the next day.
Oh, fair enough. And on that, we are going to roll into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Yeah, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.high9news.com. And please make sure that you are following us on X and Rumble. YouTube may not always be here, but we're glad to be here, and we hope that we are. But at the same time, make sure you're following us on X and Rumble. And if you ever can't find us here on YouTube, you can always find us there.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The control tower from Highly Educated. We are back. And Dale, here we go. Can-No-bis. You ever heard of that stuff?
No.
Yeah, Can-No-bis. Because the city targets a smoke shop in a THC-sale crackdown, Dale. That's right. Underground investigations revealed that THC-containing products were sold from a concealed back rooms, bypassing required licensing and safety and labeling regulations, according to city officials. Man, they make it sound so trappish. The city of San Diego is suing 2 smoke shops and 2 people alleging they unlawfully sold unlicensed cannabis products, official says on Wednesday. The city attorney's office filed the suit against Mira Mesa Smoke Shop and Vape Incorporated and Prime Smoke and Vape, along with Wadia and Talon Toma, under the Unfair Competition Law and the Uniform Controlled Substances Act. The city identified Wadia as the owner, CEO, chief financial officer, secretary, and service agent for Mira Mesa Smoke and Vape. Toma was identified as the owner, CEO, CFO, secretary, and service of agent for Prime Smoke and Vape. The city is asking for injunctive relief, abatement of public nuisance, and civil penalties of up to $2,500 for each violation under the UCL and up to $25,000 per offense under the Health and Safety Code. The complaint also seeks additional penalties for violations perpetrated against senior citizens or disabled persons, the office added. The defendant did not immediately reply to a message seeking comment on Wednesday, and according to the city, undercover investigations revealed that THC-containing products were sold from concealed back rooms, bypassing required licensing, safety, and labeling regulations. The businesses named in the suit lacked the required state cannabis licenses and city cannabis outlet permits, and their operations constituted an unlawful sale of controlled substances and a public nuisance under California law, according to the suit. In a quote, they say, "By operating outside this regulatory framework, the defendants determined protections designed to safeguard public health, ensure product safety, and prevent diversion into illegal markets," the city stated. Oh man, they're cracking down on the smoke shops in San Diego, Dale. That's probably because San Diego has some of the highest taxes in the state, and they're just like, hey, you guys are bypassing our taxes, and we want our money. And then, it's funny, they throw out these that we want $25,000 for this and $2,500 for this and each violation, but they never stipulate where that money actually goes or how it's applied. And I feel like it just goes into their coffers, into their slush fund, and is going to buy all the staff lunch for the next couple of weeks. What do you got to say about this? Well,
California made all marijuana crimes a misdemeanor soaking wet in 2016 when we passed Prop 64. So there's nothing to be gained within law enforcement for going after people for misdemeanors.
No.
You just don't get advancement.
Exactly.
It's a pain in the ass, blah, blah, blah. They don't want to do it. Okay. So looking for other ways. And the unfair competition law here in California, it gives them the ability to go in and fight you. If other people have to have a license and you're operating one, that's unfair competition. A difficult one to understand. But it's like pissing up a rope. You're never going to stop this problem because all of this requires the government go out and do a lot of things, put a lot of resources into it. So yeah, they want to fine you. Well, and who gets that money? The people that are out, putting resources out are the ones that are screaming for that money. It's local government that wants that money. And one of the things we found here in California is that people think that cannabis businesses, legal or illegal, are just cash cows to be milked, an ATM machine.
That's right.
Mention your password, money comes right out of them. And right now they look like they just got out of Buchenwald. It's hard to watch.
That's funny.
And it's I don't want to say it's funny, haha. It's funny like you guys just don't understand. If you want to get rid of this black market trap thing, to green light people getting permits to be able to distribute marijuana, whatever you want to call it, like they did with hemp, way the black market will go find something else they can make money on. That's how it works. And why they won't have those honest discussions, I don't even know what to tell you. Because at some point, business schools like Wharton are going to go, how do you want to fuck up an industry and be completely impotent? Let's look at the California model, or let's look at how we dealt with rolling out weed. It was incredibly stupid from a business standpoint.
Let's look at social equity programs. Yeah, exactly.
Well, but there is an argument to be made, Jason, and that I went to prison.
I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that, Dale. The reality of it is how these things are implemented is nothing more than predatory gifting. Okay.
Well, and most of them that I was involved in had a straw man behind them.
Exactly.
Put the social equity person there. No, on paper, you got 51% of the business. Wink, wink, nod, nod.
Exactly.
There was a bunch of fucking Chads from Orange County that were running this damn thing.
Easy there. We love Orange County over here.
I called them to their faces. It's like, come on, dude. You're just being stupid here.
Yeah.
And I've asked many of these policymakers, why do you pass a law you can't enforce? Please. And explain it to me like I'm a fifth grader. Okay? Please explain this to me. And they can't. They want to be your parent and tell you what to do. And we're going, no, you're not our goddamn parent. No, we're not going to do that. I just don't know why we can't get this message across. And we all know that government is full of people with their head up their ass or with their own agendas. And they all want money from us. I mean, that's how this country got started. They want to just drop taxes on us, and people are like, I'd prefer not to pay taxes. If I have to, how about you show me what I'm getting for my money? And it's myopia.
Yeah.
Throw money in, and what do we get? Look around and go, I can find all kinds of places you should be spending money. Aside from some of these nonsensical programs people want to advance for whatever agenda they have, we need to be better at shepherding the money we give the government, and the government policies that spend our money just stick in their heels and do not want to do it.
Yeah.
There's the battle we're having.
Yep. It's just so stupid. It's like our first story, the new laws of how they can't do direct to consumer. You guys can't stop this. You guys got two shops, and you guys are acting like it's a big thing. Like, you know what I mean? California is so big and massive. We're talking about 2 stores. Okay, Dale? 2, just 2. There's restaurants that sit next door to each other. You know what I'm saying? Then it's so asinine that these people think that like this is the only place that that's happening and whatnot. You guys need to get your heads out of your asses for 2026 and actually come up with policies that actually make sense. And all of this prohibitionist rhetoric makes absolutely no sense. And I like what you were saying, Dale. They need to give all
2026
licenses.
Is not going to be like 2025 was. I mean, they started this process. They passed this bill, which really tied the hemp industry's hands. In 1 year, they got to figure this out. So things are going to have to change. Now, I'm not Nostradamus, and my crystal ball doesn't work very well. I know what I'd like to see happen, but I'm just not convinced that Congress or any of these state policymakers is going to figure this out the way that we would like to see it work. But, I'm always willing to be educated about it, but, I'm a skeptic about government. They can fuck up a wet dream. And we're going to watch over 2026, tell them, look, Schedule 3 is stupid. That the hemp stuff is stupid. We need to open this up. That's the lessons to be learned here, and I can write it out on your chalkboard if you want. These are the lessons we've learned. Well, you guys learn them. And politics is going to turn this into something that, it's just hard to imagine what it's going to be.
Yep. That's very, 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 very true. Very, 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 very true. Well, Dale, on that, we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, I left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Yes, and we are back, Dale. We are back, and man. Dale, a Bernalillo County sheriff boots firefighters from a helicopter unit over marijuana policy. They just kicked him out with no parachute, Dale. You believe that? Just offboarding them all of a sudden. You know what I mean? They thought they were like bales of cannabis just dropping, falling from the sky. Bernalillo County Fire and Rescue removed from Metro Air Support Unit despite offering to comply with BCSO's drug testing standards. After more than 10 years of partnering on search and rescue missions, wildfire flights, and medical interventions, Bernalillo County firefighters have been ousted from the sheriff's office helicopter unit. The reason? A policy change allowing firefighters to smoke marijuana while off duty. In a quote, Sheriff John Allen made this decision in early June of 2025 following a county policy change that allows firefighters to use marijuana off duty and removes random cannabis testing. Jamie Gonzalez, Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office spokesman, said in a news release on Wednesday. MASU Metro Air Support Unit performs aviation operations and life-saving rescue work where the margin for error is zero. The president of the Firefighters Union, which covers Albuquerque Fire Rescue and Bernalillo County Fire and Rescue, said that despite the policy change, firefighters agreed to random drug tests in order to remain compliant and continue working with MASU. But Allen said no. The Metro Air Support Unit runs out of BCSO and operated helicopters and was historically staffed by BCSO pilots and deputies and BCFR personnel. The unit, utilizing law enforcement and medical expertise, provided aid in search and rescue operations, helped fight fires, and assisted BCSO in arrests. On July 16th of 2022, the former Metro 2 helicopter, a Bell UH-1H, crashed and killed 3 BCSO deputies and BCFR rescue specialist Captain Matthew King. A wrongful death lawsuit filed after the crash alleges the helicopter was a death trap with numerous engine fatigue cracks that caused the aircraft to plummet to the ground. The lawsuit, which made no mention of marijuana usage or impaired flying, is still pending, and a federal investigation determined that the operator of the helicopter, which was flown and maintained by BCSO under Sheriff Larry Corrin, did not use lab results showing the compromised engine to troubleshoot the issue, they say. Had the operator conducted an analysis, they could have potentially identified the deteriorating component and impeding failure, according to the National Transportation Safety Board, which attributed the catastrophic engine failure to poor maintenance. But rebuild MASU the right way in December of 2023, BCSO took to the skies in a brand new helicopter, a real shiny one. Gonzalez said that Allen rebuilt the unit with the mindset of avoiding more loss of life. In a quote, "We owed it to the families we lost, to the men and women who fly and work these missions, and to this community to rebuild MASU the right way," Allen said in a statement on Wednesday. "We do not cut corners and we do not compromise. When the county changed policy to allow marijuana use and remove random testing, I made the call to protect this unit."
Firefighters were allowed to use marijuana off the clock after Bernalillo County commissioners voted unanimously to expand the county's policy on cannabis use in December of 2024. And Eric Olivas, who was the commissioner's vice chair at the time and currently serves as chairman, sponsored the policy to allow a majority of county employees to use cannabis off the clock. Olivia's preliminary advocated for firefighters and first responders to be able to use cannabis, which became legal for adult use in New Mexico in 2022. And he said that first responders dealt with highly traumatic situations and had the right to seek treatment, including cannabis, for post-traumatic stress disorder and other stressors. And a quote, "This allows them to work with their physicians, with whoever they receive health care from, to find the best alternative, the best medicine for them," Olivia said during the December 2024 meeting. Olivia's was not available for comment on Wednesday, and there's no one better than our firefighters. But Miguel Tutman, president of the International Association of Firefighters for the county in Albuquerque, said firefighters were frustrated to learn that they no longer were part of the helicopter unit, which had been a partnership since 2012, and said union leadership signed a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, to partake in randomized cannabis testing. And a quote, "Our members were 100% willing to sign an MOU that changes the contract so they would be testing according to BCSO standards, and this MOU was negotiated with Bernalillo County," Tiltman said. "The sheriff decided to completely kick the department away, and so we're upset about that, and we completely abided by the request to test according to their process." The MOU states that all members of the MASU team would freely and voluntarily undergo randomized urine and breath tests, and any member who tested positive would be immediately removed from the MASU and will be permanently disqualified from future participation in the unit for the duration of their career, but that no further disciplinary action would be taken by the department. Gonzalez, in response, said the BCSO's standards are higher than ever, and they would not accept even the slightest impairment risk, period. But BCSO has since replaced BCFR paramedics with staff from the University of New Mexico Hospital, and MASU's capabilities have not been affected, according to Gonzalez. A UNMH spokesperson could not be reached for comment on Wednesday, and Tittman said that the decision to expel firefighters from the unit was not made in compliance with collective bargaining, and that in light of that decision, the union might need to seek clarification from the labor board. Teddy Ugabe, vice president of the union's Bernalillo County chapter, said the statements made the BCSO news release were not only false but also offensive to firefighters. And they say, "Sheriff Allen invokes our brother Matthew King and the other sheriff's deputies that passed away in the crash," Ugabe said. "There is no one better than our firefighters, and there was no one better than Matt King. He's entitled to his own opinions, but who's better than that team? But no one is better than our firefighters," he says. Well. Look at this, Dale. I smell a union fight brewing in New Mexico, and it's going to be a labor fight, and I have a feeling that these firefighters are ultimately going to win. What do you have to say about this?
Well, what this points out is what I saw within law enforcement politics more times than I care to even think about. You get some knucklehead in a high policy-making position like the sheriff, and they just will not consider anything other than, you got to be absolutely clean. Now, you can drink all you want. We don't give a shit. Okay, but you can't use any other drugs. Now, that is destructive. As I've also dealt with inside law enforcement, cops have much higher suicide rates than your average person. PTSD is a problem. And law enforcement said it's okay to drink, but alcohol is not a therapist or an antidepressant. Okay, it does not. It's like Todd Mickeria told me that people who have PTSD drinking alcohol is like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Yeah, right.
The firefighters who deal with the realities of fire, which is fairly predictable, and sick people, you understand this is just a crock of shit this guy's pulling out. It really is. The only person they should be testing carefully is the pilot of that helicopter. I'm a pilot myself. I don't want to fly it's a small, single engine land planes that I flew. I don't want to be doing that when I'm all fucked up.
Yeah.
If you're flying a helicopter and you're landing someplace where it's not really cleared for landing, but you need to get there and pick up somebody in a car accident or something, get them out of there, you want that person's head to be on as straight as you can make it.
Yeah.
That one I get.
Mm-hmm.
For the rest of them, what the hell does it matter if yesterday they smoked a joint? Because yesterday you could have been drinking highballs.
Yeah,
okay?
right.
Show up the next day and that's cool, and you're hungover, but you couldn't have smoked a joint. It just doesn't make any sense.
It's crazy.
And I think you're right. The unions are going to say, nah, this is a legal issue.
Yeah.
And we win on the legal issue because this sheriff has his head up his ass like too many of them do.
Well, not to mention that there's a certain protocol that they would have. They can't just all of a sudden drop it, especially with these signed MOUs in place and whatnot, and I'm sure that there's some other type of language in the contract. And seeing as the fact that they were willing to comply with the same testing standards in light of the new change of law, to me doesn't seem like he has any type of proper legal grounding to stand on to remove them from this unit. I'm with the firefighters on this one. I think the sheriff has really overstepped his boundaries.
Oh yeah, and I think it gives the firefighters more ammunition that this is going to be fought out in the court of unions. Okay? Because the unions are looking at their workers, and I can tell you that smoking weed's a lot healthier for someone that's struggling with their mental health, like a lot of cops and firefighters do, than drinking.
Yep.
Okay. So I don't think the sheriff can really factually support what he's doing, and that's where this should be. Because what I've seen from these first responders is the same thing that I saw when I was in the military as a corpsman. People's heads are being twisted up.
Yep.
You cannot see people mangled and die in front of you, things like that on a regular basis without having some stress from this. And when I was working in the ER, they sent us to meditation training because we were all drinking too much after work. They said, you guys got to stop drinking so much or try meditation. Okay. They didn't consider smoke a joint, but we recognize this is hard on people.
Yeah.
Same thing with cops. When you show up and every time you go approach a car, someone could shoot you. Cortisol takes its toll on you.
Yeah.
And these are honest discussions to have because I have cops that are friends of mine. Some of the people I grew up with, their kids are cops. I've talked to them. I love these guys.
Yeah, cops are people too. Cops are humans too. Yeah.
That happened to them. We had a cop walk up on what he thought was a legal grow here in our county. And some hitman from the Mexican mafia just shot him right there in the driveway.
Pow. Right.
Like, whoa, that's not okay. That guy had 2 children. What the No, that's not all right.
It's not the business.
I don't justify anything like that. But that kind of stuff, operating at those levels of stress, and this is not just adrenaline, this is cortisol. It takes its toll. It's like combat foot soldiers. Adrenaline will kill you. That's when the firefight starts. But every other time of the day, you're worried about what's coming next. That stress is horrible. And what Sue Sisley showed, which you all know, is smoking weed helps you sleep at night and deal with some of your stress. It ain't rocket science. And so I think the sheriff just represents so many of these old goddamn goobers out there that are sheriff with their cowboy hat on and thinking that, I'm going to tell you what to do and you're going to follow what I do. Man, you ain't my dad. No, you don't get to just do this without some ramifications. And I hope that the firefighters kick his ass. Wait till somebody dies because the firefighters weren't there.
Exactly. And then they just go and give it to the hospital. That's, what I'm saying.
Oh, but hospitals have their own policies about drug use and things like that.
Right.
Okay. Which is not going to be the same as the firefighters who were willing to be randomly drug tested. Hey, it's too messy.
Yep.
Stop it.
Yep. Fair enough. Well, on that, we're going to end, the first show
of 2026, Dale, we are going to end it on a good story. I do have a good story for you. And I hope this, you know what I'm saying? Hope this is of interest, Dale. Because I found it pretty interesting. You know what I mean? Because Wayne State, which is a university, seeks veterans to participate in a cannabis treatment study. That's right. Wayne State University is seeking veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder to participate in a study testing the impacts of cannabis use to treat the disorder. During the clinical trials, veterans will participate in a 12-week treatment program testing varying levels of THC and CBD, two primary compounds found in cannabis. The university said in a press release earlier this month that researchers will evaluate how these treatments affect mood, mental health, and overall well-being in participating veterans. University researchers will run two studies as part of the research program titled Warrior Care. One, to examine the use of cannabis for treating PTSD and suicidally in veterans. And the other to examine the use of cannabis along with therapy for treating PTSD and suicidally in veterans. That's the same thing. That's the same two studies. That's weird why it says it like that. Anyways, in a quote, "This study represents a critical step in addressing the mental health challenges facing veterans," said one of the project's lead investigators, Dr. Leslie Lundahall. "By using rigorous scientific methods, we aim to understand whether cannabis can play a safe and effective role in improving veterans' lives." More than 6,400 U.S. military veterans died by suicide in 2022, and the university said, and it accounts for 15% of all adult suicide deaths. Wayne State was awarded 3 grants totaling $30 million with an M from the Michigan Cannabis Regulatory Agency for its research, and the Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act, which was approved by Michigan voters in November of 2018, allowed for grants like the ones Wayne State received to study the potential medical effects of cannabis, said David Harns, a public relations manager for the Michigan Cannabis Regulatory Agency. The law established the Marijuana Regulation Fund and directed the Michigan Cannabis Regulatory Agency to allocate $40 million to support FDA-approved clinical trials focused on researching the efficiency or the efficacy of marijuana in treating medical conditions affecting U.S. Armed Services veterans and in addressing veteran suicide prevention, Harms said via an email. These grants were awarded through a request for proposal process, and he said Wayne State University was selected because of its research capacity, academic expertise, and ability to conduct clinical trials that meet federal standards. In a quote, they say, "This research has potential," and you know the first 3 letters in potential, "to generate credible evidence-based data on whether cannabis may offer therapeutic benefits for veterans experiencing conditions such as chronic pain, post-traumatic stress, or other service-related health challenges," Harn said. By funding FDA-approved studies, the state aims to contribute meaningful findings that can inform medical practice, public policy, and future treatment options for veterans. The Wayne State research team has now obtained all required federal, state, and local approvals for the first 2 grants, and recruitment is now officially open, the university said in a release earlier this month. Requirements for participants include veteran status, ages 19 to 69, have smoked cannabis in the last year, experience PTSD symptoms, and are willing to complete the screening process that includes clinical interviews, blood draws, and saliva samples. Veterans interested in participating in this study are asked to fill out a form on the research program's website, and they can also call 313-473-7733. And that number again is 313-473-7733 with any questions. Well, Dale, this is great news, but you know what? This thing should have started a few years earlier, because I don't know if you remember a while ago, we covered these stories of this $40 million that was from the fund that Gretchen Whitmer took and misappropriated that was supposed to fund this study 2 or 3 years ago. And now all of a sudden they're getting around to it. And it must be because it's an election season coming up. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this.
It never ceases to amaze me,
right?
How slow these people are to understand that using this as a medicine is efficacious. And there's some places where it seems to work really well. I don't know if people understand. Back during the Vietnam War, what happened is there was a lot of weed in Vietnam, and a lot of people smoked it because, you know what? It helps me deal with having to go on combat missions and all the other shit. Heroin was also used, and that wasn't necessarily so good. So smoking weed helped with the stress of combat. Okay, and then afterwards, I don't know how many veterans that I have dealt with over I got out in 1976, so it's been a long ass time, almost 50 years now. And there's so many veterans I've met that struggled with the effects of their deployments. And now, since we went into the Middle East, they now do multiple deployments. We only got one. Grunts got 13 months. Everybody else got 12 months deployment. Now they're sending these kids, and I use the term kids because I'm an old fart and I got kids their age. These kids are going over there multiple times, okay, being put in that stressful environment. And guess what? Your brain just doesn't do well with that. I mean, and I know so many veterans that figure this out after maybe a suicide attempt or something like that, oh my God, I'm throwing this bag of drugs away the VA is prescribing to me, and I'd rather just smoke weed. Now, I'd like to see the counseling come in where the counselor understands you're using cannabis as a medication to help you, and let's talk about that honestly and not be in fear that someone's going to rat you out, you're going to lose your gun rights or be in trouble with something. No, let's talk to them like they're real human beings, and I'm having trouble sleeping, my wife wants to kill me, my kids don't want to be around me. When I smoke pot, I'm a nicer person. And we talk about that. I don't think it's rocket science, but we have to jump through these hoops to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to these knuckleheads like that fucking cop that we just talked about last time. Smoking weed is good for people who have stressful jobs. We talk about it. We got to go prove it beyond a reasonable doubt when those of us around this and veterans who have tried to commit suicide or thinking, it's called suicidality. We're thinking about that, okay? Can we address that?
Oh, that's what they were talking. Okay, I didn't understand how to pronounce that word, suicidality. Got it. I was like, I haven't seen that word before. It's like
thinking about killing yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. When you're having those thoughts, you need someone to help you. It's like if you're a drunk, you call up your sponsor. Oh, I'm thinking about drinking again. Okay. You're thinking about, I just don't want to do this anymore. Hey, let's talk you down.
Yep.
That's where therapists, I get irritated because I was trained in medicine. I married Molly when she just got out of medical school, through her residency. And you look at what they're trying to get physicians to do, and then it's like, oh my God, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil when it comes about weed. Stop it. You're dealing with human beings. This makes them feel good. They're going to use it.
Yep.
Now, let's go from there and stop trying to tell people what to do and listen to them. We're supposed to have freedom in this country. At its core, okay? And if I'm doing something in my house that makes me feel better and it's affecting nobody else, why in the fuck is that anybody else's business?
Exactly.
Especially the government.
Exactly. Especially the government. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
So right. And
the government's turned into that, that overbearing aunt that doesn't want you to do anything. Fuck you.
The Karen Patrol.
Yeah, leave me alone.
You're so right.
We're supposed to have freedoms here, but when you start scratching and sniffing, government wants to control your life. Both sides of the political spectrum want to control your life. And people just want to be left alone. How do we bridge that gap?
Exactly. Just leave these people alone. It's 2026, Dale. We made it, bro.
Yeah.
1/1/26. Yeah. Make sure you get that date right when you pull out your checkbooks, guys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll screw that up.
Oh, man. And on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. And thank you to Cloud Media Partners, Elias and Gabriel. They're somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show
patented and trademarked. Happy New Year's, guys. 2026. Get it.